Welcome back to a special Christmas episode of Bowtie Baptist. I'm JT Pitts.
And I am Jody Thibodeau, and we are the Bowtie Baptist. So, welcome to my shed. It doesn't look like my shed here. You don't want it to look like my shed right now, but it is a nice, warm 40 degrees on December 23rd. So, when we're recording this episode is going to drop Christmas morning this year. But we thought it'd be cool to try and get a special Christmas episode in this year. And
how did this episode come about? Because you and I were just talking. Biggest thing for us was, I don't know how we got on the topic, but it was, how can we be more Jesus focused versus Santa focused?
Yeah, I think that was it.
And we just got on a conversation. Like, this might be a really good special edition Christmas episode. And
and then we just took up the Lottie Moon Offering at church. Did our missions march, which that's actually what we're going to talk about this year on our Christmas episode. And just as a teaser for Easter, I haven't said anything to you about this yet.
Sure,
but for Easter, I think we need to do an Annie Armstrong episode.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and plan that one. So Easter, we'll have to drop it the Wednesday before Easter, but since Easter's never on a Wednesday, we'll do it the couple days early. But this jingling in my ears is going to drive me wild. I don't even know if it's getting picked up on the mic. I have to keep my head still. But
we persevere here.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit about Lottie Moon, what our church does for the Lottie Moon Offering, or at least what it did this year as far as promotion wise, and just share some facts because, we're Southern Baptists. We're part of a Southern Baptist Convention church. And I know a lot of the listeners might not be a part of the Southern Baptist Convention, and that's fine. That's cool. But we are. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is coming from what we see and do in our church that is, it can be carried over to other churches. You don't have to be Southern Baptist to do these things, but
it was interesting for me because this is my second experience of Lottie Moon, and this is really my first year of really digging into the facts and actually learning who Lottie was. So, I enjoyed, Amanda getting up in church and going through that, and some of these facts that I find very interesting. First, see, actually, Lottie's not her name. I didn't know that.
I'll tell you what, before we get into Lottie Moon facts,
okay,
let's talk about the keeping Christ in central to traditions.
Okay.
Because we talked about that a little bit on the phone yesterday. And I was asking you, I said, well, what do y'all do? And is there anything y'all do to try and make sure that Christ is the focal point of what you do at home? And I know your family's still young.
Yeah, we're still figuring out. Rachel had a really good idea this year. She, you know what little people are? It's like a toy basically.
Yeah,
these toys match Disney movies.
Yeah, the little Fisher Price toys, right? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But Rachel bought Lily a nativity scene, little people, and so she plays with it every day. And pieces get missing. We're like, where's Joseph? We gotta find Joseph, right? And we'll go, go through different characters and whatnot. She's having some fun with it, and it's funny enough, man. We started. I don't know exactly when this started, but we started praying with her. We instead of going to bed, we were just having such a hard time putting her to bed every night. So instead of saying, "Hey, you ready for bed?" was, "Hey, are you ready to pray?" Mm-hmm. And she says, "Yeah, she's just a little easier to put in the crib there." And so we'll pray for a little bit. And I always say, "And Jesus said." She's like, "Amen." It's like one of the most proudest moments that I have as a dad. And she'll say that as she plays with the nativity scene. So it's cool to watch, man. But that was all Rachel, and just a great idea.
Well, we have one that my wife Savannah came up with, and in that first episode, I mentioned my kids. Mm-hmm. And went back and listened to it. I didn't even mention Savannah at all. But
she let you know that?
She let me know that. She didn't have to let me know it. I picked up on it, but she let me know it too. Right. But no, she's she's been very supportive of this and allowing me to do it and keeping the kids inside so we can do this out here. But
Your kids don't go to bed as early as mine.
no,
I had to wait till my kids were in bed. And
yeah,
they could scoot
no,
over
mine
here.
are still up. A couple of them spending the night with grandparents, but no, the rest of them I'm sure are probably having a movie night or something. But one of the things that we do that Savannah came up with, I don't know where she got the idea, but we're actually manipulating it this year because our youngest are 4 and 5 now. And what we would do is, well, and also this year they're all homeschooled.
Mhm.
In the past, they weren't. They all went to public schools. So what we would do is on Christmas Eve, she would bake a cake and decorate it. She found I'm sure you can find cake topper nativity sets somewhere.
Mhm.
But what we did was we got in a pinch because we couldn't find ours a couple years ago. And she ended up going somewhere, I guess it was probably Hobby Lobby, and found an ornament nativity set. So they're real small. But she actually took that and cut strings off, and we use that to decorate the top of the cake.
Okay.
So my kids can't listen to this for a couple more years, this episode. But what happens is on Christmas morning, when they wake up, they come in the living room. There's a happy birthday Jesus party kit, if you will, on the island.
Okay.
And there's a birthday cake that has the nativity set on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually we'll get like a happy birthday banner that we'll put up, and happy birthday Jesus cups and plates that they usually sell at Hobby Lobby. I don't know if they have them this year or not, but enough for each child, and it's from Santa. So
Santa's wishing Jesus happy birthday.
Santa is bringing them what they need to celebrate Jesus' birthday. And before they open presents,
that's good.
We always sing happy birthday, Jesus.
Oh, wow.
So
I think some discipline.
It's the normal happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you,
wow.
But it's to Jesus.
Now, does Santa bring wrapped presents or unwrapped presents?
A little bit of both.
Okay, so I was going to say, they see all these unwrapped presents.
No,
like,
so they have an understanding that they only get what we've done is, and honestly, we were torn at first if we were going to even let our kids think that there was a Santa.
Yeah,
because that's a big thing these days. Is do you let your kids believe in Santa or do you not let them believe in Santa?
Well, it's not even your kids. What about your cousins? Your cousins' parents are gonna be very upset.
Well,
if my kid spoils it for them, And so that's something to think about.
Yeah, and ours we have a couple that are kind of aging out of that, and they know, but they know not to say anything around anybody else. But so obviously we did decide to let them go ahead and Santa. It's fun and it's like, honestly, I think the only real concern for me when we were even thinking about it was, and I was overthinking it, I know, but it was, how do we explain to them that something we've told them is real, we've let them believe is real for 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, however many years, and then they find out it's not real, but we've been telling them Jesus is real, God is real, the Bible and Scripture is real, but it's not been an issue. It's, and
I never even thought about it.
Like I said, I was overthinking it because it's one of those things we have that internal knowledge already that God is real, that general revelation, that He's real.
Well, and I think, and this hit me too. I think our daily habits, are just as important as whatever we're going through during the Christmas season. And I think proper daily, like just praying every day. And I got a couple in our Sunday school class that came to visit us when Roy was born, and they're a couple of years older than us. Their kids are a couple of years older than us, so they're at the next stage, and they're just telling us different stuff that they do. And I was just blown away. I'm like, that's just such a good idea,
I got you.
And again, I just like how I like the prayer, right? I like listening to people who have slightly older children because I'm going to be in this next same boat. But my house, Santa's not a thing yet.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I mean, really,
aren't old enough yet.
Rachel and I were talking the other day. You're like, well, how do you want to do this? Because one's going to get up before the other. I certainly don't want to wake up the youngest one when my daughter wakes up at 5:45, 6 o'clock every morning. It's rough, man. And I'm like, I'm not waking my son up. My youngest one. So we're probably just going to do stages or something. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we're still figuring it out.
I got you. Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and say, I'm going to throw this out there. Anybody listening, if you have any traditions that you do with your family that helps keep Christmas Christ-centric, if you will, let us know.
Yeah, I'd love to hear
maybe
it.
we can spotlight some of those next year on next year's Christmas episode. But let's move into Lottie.
Okay.
I think we're ready to move into Lottie.
Yep.
I'm ready to move into Lottie. Now,
can we start with probably one of the most common misconceptions of Lottie is that she was a normal sized human being.
Yeah, let me go and I put this picture up.
Yeah, this is our RAs.
So I took a picture of this is our younger group of RAs at church. And this was this past Wednesday. So we got them to pose. That is a life-size picture of Lottie.
That's crazy.
If you're not sure which one Lottie is, she's the one that's in grayscale.
She's the cardboard.
Yeah, second from the left. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, I will post this picture on our Instagram channels. Make sure you can put pictures on X, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get it on all our social accounts. But go back and watch the YouTube video too. But
you see me shivering.
Yeah, these are the younger boys. This is the 1st through 3rd grade. And we just lined them up, had them all hold a Bible the same way she's holding. You can't see because it's a black and white picture.
Yeah.
But she's actually holding a Bible the same way they're all holding it. But we had them do this, line up from shortest to tallest, just to show how short Lottie was, because that is a life-size picture of her. We were going to have her here with us, and
man.
We're sitting down, and she'd probably still be shorter than us.
I can't remember what the average Civil War soldier was, but I mean they're significantly shorter, back then. But that still, I mean, Jackson. How tall's Jackson? 4.5 feet.
No, because she's only 4'2".
Oh, okay. So
4'3". She was 4 foot 3 inches tall.
Goodness gracious.
So
going to China.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So,
well, but
yeah, going back to, as we keep talking about Lottie, her name wasn't Lottie. It was Charlotte Diggs Moon. And she was born in Virginia on December 12th, 1840.
Yeah, and we're reading these facts because we don't want to mess them up.
Yeah, really.
But she became a Christian when she was 18, and then decided that, or she didn't decide. She listened to God about being called to be a missionary. In 1873 is when she arrived in China. And what I didn't realize, and I'm sure I probably had heard it before, but restudying all this stuff, her sister was already a missionary. Her sister had gone to China the year before that. And she met up with her sister.
Now, was she a Southern Baptist missionary?
Yes.
Too?
Yeah. And we can talk about that in another episode about how all that came to be, but that's why the Southern Baptist Convention exists. So, but if you're curious ahead of us talking about it in an episode, go ahead and Google it. But yes, so she, at the time, it was not called the International Mission Board. It was, I should have wrote it down. Foreign Mission Board, something.
Yeah.
Here, you read the next couple. I'll look it up.
So she made tea cakes to gain the trust of the Chinese women and children. I'm going to assume a tea cake is a cookie.
It is.
Okay.
It is a very famous recipe. It is a very famous recipe. And if you go to imb.org, they actually have her recipe that she used. I guess it's got, I think it has a modern equivalent as well. But it is on the imb.org website.
I'll pull these facts up here. But what makes it a tea cake? What is a tea cake?
I guess you eat it with tea.
Really?
I'm not British. I don't know.
Well,
they call them.
She was
They
known
call
as the
them-
cookie lady.
They
So
call
I
them
guess
cakes.
it's,
Yeah, I think it's a sugar cookie, basically.
Oh,
Or
they
a butter
actually-
cookie or shortbread or.
well, as we sit here,
We've
and talk
had them
about
before at my old church. We actually had a night where they served the types of food that she would have eaten over there, and dessert was her cookies that they used her recipe to make.
I was just gonna say the next point was the famous recipe is available on the IMB website. We're sitting here talking about what it is. You can look it up for yourself. But yeah, so let's see here. Yep, she's 4'3" tall. We covered that earlier. And while a missionary, she wrote letters home, accompanying prayers and giving to foreign mission work. And we have a copy of one of her letters here. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I'll read that if you want me to. Because this is actually this will lead into the offering and why we have the offering. But this is a quote from one of her letters that she sent home from China, and it was dated. What was the date on that?
1887.
Yeah, and it was printed in the Foreign Mission Journal in December of 1887. It says, resolved that this board recommend to the Woman's Missionary Society to observe the week preceding Christmas as a week of prayer and self-denial. In preparation for this, resolved that we agree to pray every evening for 6 months, dating from June 25th, 1887, for the outpouring of the Holy Spirit on the Woman's Missionary Society and its work at home and in the foreign fields. Need it be said why the week before Christmas is chosen? Is not the festive season when families and friends exchange gifts in memory of the gift laid on the altar of the world for the redemption of the human race the most appropriate time to consecrate a portion from abounding riches and scant poverty to send forth the good tidings of great joy into all the earth? In seeking organization, we do not need to adopt plans or methods unsuitable to the views or repugnant to the taste of our brethren. What we want is not power, but simply combination in order to elicit the largest possible giving. Power of appointment and of dispersing funds should be left, as heretofore, in the hands of the Foreign Mission Board. That answers my question. Separate organization is undesirable and would do harm, but organization in subordination to the board is the imperative need of the hour. Now, that was, again, written in 1887, and she served in China as a missionary for 39 years. She had some pretty significant health issues, and her doctor told her she needed to come back to the United States for treatment, but she didn't make it back home. She actually died in Tokyo Bay, Japan, on the ship. At how old was she?
No, we did that the other night.
We did the math.
Was it 62?
But it was
it that old?
It might have been older than that. But either way, she actually died on Christmas Eve in 1912. And I thought this was kind of an interesting fact. Somebody involved in getting her home, I don't know if it was the captain of the ship or somebody else, but there was concern that when they got to the United States, that her remains might not be allowed into the country for burial. So they had her cremated so that her ashes could be brought and then interred and buried. So, and I didn't write that down either, but I'm pretty sure she was buried beside, I think it was her brother in Virginia. Either way, she was able to, her remains were brought back and laid to rest here in the United States. But there's a lot of other pretty cool facts about her.
Yeah, before we get into the offering, I think it's important to know that, she left wealth to travel to China, rural poverty-stricken China.
Yeah, because she came from money, and I know she actually went to college, to a women's college there in Virginia. And if I'm remembering correctly, let me look this up. I'm wanting to think that she actually received a master's degree. Might have been the first female to receive a master's degree.
Oh, well, I don't know that. But how long did she teach? I guess what was it? 30, so probably about 10 years.
give or take.
Yeah.
Yes. So in 1861, received a Master of Arts in Classics in 1861 from the Albemarle Female Institute in Charlottesville, Virginia. I know I mispronounced that. Impediment
No, sounds good to me.
rose up for me. But yeah, she was the first woman in the South to receive a master's degree, according to this. But
Wow.
it's now Hollins College, is what that school is now called. But so yeah, she actually turned down a marriage proposal also.
Wow.
Somebody proposed marriage and she declined and went
Yeah.
to China for the rest of her life instead. So,
Gosh, man, it's when you think about just missionaries, I think it's easy for us, like even when we teach the RA sometimes, like
yeah,
we can pray for missionaries and this and that, and the term just missionary, I think, doesn't get the emphasis it deserves in a lot of cases, because and go to the annual meeting, go to the national annual meeting, and you'll see when they showcase the missionaries, a lot of their identities have to be hidden just for their safety. I mean,
yeah,
when I was at the when I was in Indy, and they were one fella, he was going back to the area where his parents were currently incarcerating for spreading the gospel, and that just hit me so hard. It's just like, what kind of conviction does that take?
Yeah.
Like you said, to turn away riches, marriage proposal for a life, a very poor life in China, rural China, to spread the gospel. I mean, that's conviction, and that's inspiring.
And I will go ahead and mention, for anybody listening who is not aware, and you would like to watch one of those sending ceremonies, they're actually online. You can watch them online, and it's literally it's a screen for the folks whose identities can't be revealed. They stand behind the screen, and you see their shadow, and everybody else you can see their face. But it's pretty.
It's heavy, man, because one couple was going. They would call it South Asia.
Yeah.
And and then
you have a pretty good idea of where it could be.
Yeah, well, and then,
but you never know for certain.
And several of them talked about baptizing Islamic extremists.
Yeah,
I mean, you're almost talking a suicide mission in that case.
Oh yeah.
But this couple was they described it as South Asia had a daughter the same age as my daughter at the time, taking their 6-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
To spread the gospel, and I was just overcome with them. But I was so just taken back. It's like, what am I doing, man?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
well, speaking of that, the offering funds those guys. It pays for them to go over there and do what they've been called by God to do. And it's, we're not going over there putting ourselves in those situations. So the least we can do is help contribute to allow them to be in those positions where they're sharing the gospel with these different people groups.
Yeah.
And if you notice, in her letter, she referred to the Woman's Missionary Society, is what it was called back in the 1900s, or 19th century, excuse me, in the early 1900s. Well, it is the Women's Missionary Union now. And they're the ones that actually organize and make sure that this offering happens, even though the funds go to the International Mission Board.
100% of the funds.
Yeah. So this is when we say 100% of the funds, that does not mean it goes to the IMB and that they divvy it up wherever they want. It doesn't go towards administrative fees and things like that. It goes to the missionaries in the field. And the offering was first held in 1918, so 6 years after her death. And they kick off with what the season, the Lottie Moon offering season, if you will, with what she requested in her letter, which is a week of prayer. And if you're interested, you can go to imb.org and you can actually see this year's Week of Prayer for International Missions little handout. There's a little pamphlet. It's got 7 different missionaries that are serving abroad, and just like a little snippet about them. And on the website, you can find out more about them and what they're doing, where they are. But it's to give you specific missionaries to pray for each year and to give you an idea of what your money is going to when you give to Lottie Moon. But again, like I said, if you want to see that one, you can go and find it on imb.org along with a lot of other resources.
Yeah, and last year, speaking of resources, $206.8 million was raised, and I was told that was 55% of IMB funding.
Oh, wow.
Which is just, I mean, talk about a legacy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And this year's goal is 205 million. That's the national goal. Now that's across anybody that wants to give.
Why do you think they would decrease it? Do you know what last year's goal was? Did they just exceed last year's goal?
Yeah, I would imagine that they exceeded it. But you've also got to think that a lot of churches in the SBC don't give anything to the cooperative program, and they probably don't give to these specially collected offerings either.
No.
And you still have churches leaving the SBC, but I don't know. Right? The only thing I can think of is it's still higher than what last year's goal was. I don't know, but yeah, I am kind of curious. Well, when I saw those numbers, I wondered the same thing about why it's $1 million less than what they actually.
Well, I mean, if the goal was 200 million last year, then that would make sense.
Yeah,
you got 206. Okay, so now we are showing progress. Let's
go high. And I didn't look up and.
Well, that question literally just hit me.
Yeah, I tried to find, but I couldn't.
No.
But most churches that participate, well, they'll have their own local goal and do different things to collect to try and reach their individual goals.
And this kind of ties into kind of our next section of it, and it's promotion. And I do want to take a second and, I think we started this at a new calendar year for RAs by the 1st of September.
September, the first Wednesday in September.
You teach the lads, which is 1st through 3rd grade. I teach the Crusaders, which is 4th through 6th grade. And we each thought it'd be a good idea to have an offering jar, and explain the difference between a tithe and an offering to the boys. And it was fun to see them get excited. Hey, I found 33 cents in my sister's car seat. They were just so parents. If you're missing some change, I'm sorry, but no, and we raised money for that, and they knew what that money was going for. I asked them every week. The boys would even go into the cabinet and grab the jar and put it on the table, and they had change, and it's exciting to see. 4th through 6th grade boys contributing.
Yeah.
And getting excited about it.
Yeah. Oh, and I just looked it up. Last year was the goal, national goal for 23 was 200 million.
Then that makes sense.
They just went up 5. Yeah. But as far as the way that went with the boys is I didn't really have to push them a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Some of them forgot pretty regularly, but there were a couple every week.
Mm-hmm.
Every week they had it. And they did not forget. It might have been a penny this week. It might have been like $2 or $3 another week. But
it was awkward when you forgot it.
Yeah,
I would find change or whatever. And me and Sean would get into it too. We're like, oh, here's mine. I didn't forget this week.
But no. So what we do at our church at Bellevue Baptist in Lawrence, South Carolina, is this year we had 3 opportunities which promoted the offering and encouraged giving to the offering. The first is, I'm kind of skipping around in our notes.
Yeah,
but this was actually, I think, the last point in the notes. But since we're talking about with RAs collected, the Sunday before Christmas, every year we have what's called a missions march. Now, some churches don't call it a missions march. I don't even think we called it a missions march this year. I think it was called something else in the bulletin. I wasn't there
Missions
because
march
I had
sounds
to
familiar.
stay home with sick child.
Oh
But
yeah, that's right.
we it's a missions march is effectively what it is. There's a time in the service where people who want to give on that day to the Lottie Moon Offering have an opportunity to come down to the front. They march effectively from their pew, wherever they're seated in the sanctuary, down to the front, and there's a basket or something there for them to put their offering in.
Mm-hmm.
And we encourage the kids Wednesday night to bring something, bring some change, pocket change, whatever they had, so that they can participate.
Right.
And it means more when you get up and you physically make that movement to go do it. And some churches in the past, I think we've done it at Bellevue. I know we've done it at Lucas, my last church, where I grew up at. But some churches will actually take a wooden manger and they'll have it at the front, in front of the pulpit. And that's where people go and place the offering.
Okay.
But missions march is the easiest. And it's a reminder that, hey, this is the last week we're taking it up. Now, I will go ahead and say that for statistical purposes, as long as you're wanting to give to Lottie Moon, you can give all the way through next October to this year's 205 million goal, and it will count towards that. But as far as with our church, for our records and everything, because most churches all the financial years, well, I don't guess it has to be, but our church's financial years, January 1 to December 31. And for our record keeping purposes, and also for SBC purposes, it goes on the calendar year, your numbers that you turn in. But our Lottie Moon always ends with the missions march the week before Christmas. But we also have two others. You want to?
Yeah, well, yeah. I do want to just shed some light on our GAs and ACT teams this year. Because I took part in what they were serving, but they were serving hot chocolate and just to set a reminder, each week. Say, Lottie Moon takes a free hot cocoa or whatnot, and I would take son to school, and I enjoyed it. And so we really appreciate that. And
now, what do they call it?
Lattes with Lottie.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
For a second there, I
put you on the spot, but
and the second one was this is a great idea for other churches that they don't partake in it, but the Christmas cards.
Yeah.
And for RAs, they did a lot of that sorting as well. But what we do is sending other members Christmas cards instead of sending them with a postage, deliver them to the church, and we would deliver the letters to the appropriate person. But it was encouraged that instead of whatever money you would have spent on the postage, you could have donated to the Lottie Moon Christmas Offering. And we had quite the number of cards to use, especially because you had a late night after week. Because I had to bus that one night.
No, it was. No, I had a lot of help. So with Savannah, she did the grunt work. She did the vast majority of it. Yeah, and I mean,
we didn't have Savannah
if
on.
you think about it,
she deserves it.
And I'll try and talk her into it.
Yeah, Rachel's all for it.
So, but all right. So if a stamp is 73 cents,
I thought it was 88.
Did it go up?
I thought so.
Oh, it did just go up.
Yeah. No, right? Because Rachel sends out Christmas. Rachel used to make her own cards, man. I mean, she was all about sending some cards.
All right, let's see. All right, I'm looking now. So, no, I'm saying it's 73.
Oh,
it went up. All right, so we'll say it's 73. We'll lowball it. If it's higher than that, forgive us. But we'll assume it's 73 cents.
Out of 1,000.
I don't even want to know how many cards there were. I'm going to say there were at least 300. There were at least 300 cards that were turned in.
I mean, you're assuming one card per member.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, wait a minute. That ain't right.
We would have done.
I forgot to put the decimal. I was about to say that's $20,000. I know that's right.
We raised all kind of money.
All right, so 300 cards. That's $219. But it's one of those things we didn't require it.
Mm-hmm.
It was encouraged, like you said, and it can be as simple or as elaborate as you want. When we first did it at my old church, and I'm gonna do this again next year, is my plan.
That's sort of what.
With the Christmas cards.
Oh yeah.
So at Lucas Avenue, I actually built one out of some scrap wood that I had.
Mm-hmm.
One of those blue postal service drop boxes.
Oh, okay.
Now it was pretty rough looking because it was scrap materials.
Yeah.
But it gave the idea. It got the idea across and sent the message of what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there it was in the sanctuary. But here we might have it in a different spot that's more centralized, easier for people to get to.
Yeah.
But they drop their cards in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they could do it for a couple of weeks. And then there's a certain cutoff. All the cards are sorted and they're passed out. And this is where you can get as simple or elaborate, as complex as you want. In the past, our church, different groups, the youth has helped with it. And I think Celebrate Recovery is who did it last year.
Oh, okay.
But each group does it a little bit different. You learn from each other. But there was one group that they actually put boxes out, and the members had to go ahead and have the cards pre-sorted alphabetically.
Make the members work. Oh, goodness.
So what they would do is the boxes would be like A through D, E through H, I through L, M through, and so on. And it just simplified the sorting process. And sometimes the cards would be sent out to the different Sunday school classes, which I just found this out. For folks at Bellevue listening to this that have not I have not already apologized to, who keep your roll in your Sunday school class, I'm sorry. I thought those were copies of the roll. Yeah, we love the ones we lined through the names. They weren't copies; they were the actual rolls.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
So I apologize for that. Funny. I know I'm laughing, but seriously, I'm sorry for that. I misunderstood what we got. I thought it was a copy. That's on me. That's not on anybody else. That's entirely on me. I apologize, but hey, look on the bright side. We're almost through this month. You'll get you a clean one here in a couple more weeks.
We just came up with some profound information on this
podcast. Yeah. So you never know what you're going to find out on the Bow Tie Baptist podcast
here. Yeah.
But let's get back to the last thing, which is the lattes with Lottie. We won't elaborate on that a whole lot. Now, next year. Let's shoot for next year, maybe around October, late October, early November. We can try and find some more ways that other churches promote Lottie Moon that are unique, and we can just dedicate a whole episode to that for churches to consider.
Yeah.
And we'll see about getting some of the GA and ACT team leaders on here with us to go more in detail on lattes for Lottie, how they came up with the idea, things along those lines. But I know my kids helped set up at one of the little hot chocolate stations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I won't be able to do that next year. They ended up drinking all the hot chocolate before the people got there. So 1 week, yeah, they probably drank half the pot. Talking
about pancakes and pajamas here.
We'll do that next year.
Yeah. Well,
so
I was just going to say,
I want Savannah on here for that one. Savannah and Logan, because they did a good job, and now they took over a already phenomenal event. It already had the groundwork laid for them, and there were just they made some changes, and hence the elf hat for those watching. And I made the mistake of suggesting to Savannah. She said, what can we do as far as keeping the kids entertained from the time we tell people to arrive to when Santa's going to come out at 8:15, that 15-minute gap? She said, you think they'd listen to telling stories? Should we have game stuff? I said, just get somebody dressed up like an elf and tell stories and read the Christmas story, and that'll probably captivate them.
Yeah.
Look
like who I'm looking at.
Yeah, she did not skip a beat. Said, that's perfect. What size do you wear?
Where'd you get an elf outfit?
Well, I go and tell you. It came from China.
Okay.
It said it was a large.
Most things.
Said it was a large. It was not an American large.
Yeah.
It was little. But I'll put it this way. We ordered off the Amazon website, but it was one of those direct from China manufacturer things.
Yeah.
It was what we had at the time. I'm going to upgrade the suit next year and pay out of pocket if I have to. But
can I give a shout out to Santa? Lucky was the perfect Santa.
Yeah.
And they left and went to the square.
They went all over town
and took free pictures with Santa.
Yeah.
With local businesses.
Yeah. And I will say the one thing that we were supposed to do, we both forgot once he came out.
Oh, no, what?
We were Santa was supposed to lead the kids in singing Happy Birthday to Jesus.
Oh.
But I was so hyper focused on the story that I had come up with that I wrote to tell them the script I did.
Yeah.
That I completely forgot. Which, speaking of anybody who was not able to be there, and you want to know what I'm talking about with the script, I am hopefully going to don the elf costume again. I'm going to try and get up before the kids do tomorrow morning, come back out here, record it, and post it on YouTube.
Okay.
So, but what it is I actually kind of went over it on my Field Quiver Outdoors podcast, the episode that released Sunday. So you can go ahead and listen to that, but it's not the actual story. What I did was I took different elements of Christmas and being an elf. There's some fun, some jokes, and it was how Santa had intentionally picked all these different items that are connected with secular Christmas to intentionally tell the gospel story and relate to scriptural themes, like a wreath. And a lot of this comes from hanging of the green services. So you have your wreath. A wreath has no start, it has no end. That's symbolic of God. He always is, always has been, always will be. Also, holly leaves. They have spiky leaves. They're normally woven into the wreaths, which is representative of the crown of thorns.
Oh, okay.
And then Christmas trees, and I even tied in reindeers and elves. So if I don't get that dropped this year, I'm definitely getting it dropped next year.
Okay.
But you just got to have fun with it.
Yeah.
And again, you can always find a way to tie it to scripture and the gospel story.
Yeah. And well, and I'm talking to Rachel about it because, this brought us into a conversation of, what do we want to do? We're still in the time we can pick our traditions,
Yeah.
And, she said, read the Gospels, read the Christmas stories and Gospels.
Yeah.
Instead of reading the story one night, we read the Christmas stories. And we're not going to get into Elf on a Shelf just because we're not that creative and we're not getting up earlier than our kids right now. We might not ever. But she found something that was Shepherd on a Search.
Really?
I thought that was very interesting. I'd never heard of that. And each day it gets closer to Christ in the manger.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
But you got anything else for this week's episode as far as Lottie or the offering or anything like that? I mean, there's loads more we could say, but anybody that's interested in learning more about Lottie, there's lots of books out there about her. You can go to imb.org and find out more about her there. And they actually have resources you can buy. You can buy like that life-size cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
Well, it's a poster, but
put it on your wall.
That that cutout, I'm gonna pull the picture back up for a second. So this picture of Lottie, that cutout, it's Amanda, our WMU director, made that one. And it was standing up somewhere in the church.
Oh gosh.
And it scared the mess out of somebody. They turned the corner and Lottie was standing there. And I'm not gonna lie, if I walked around the corner and I wasn't expecting it,
Yeah.
I mean it would probably scare me too if it was not all the lights were on.
Yeah.
But all joking aside, this has been a good episode. I think we'll go ahead and call it a wrap.
Yeah.
We're going to try and get together another episode. We'll be looking at, it'll be on a Wednesday. We don't know what Wednesday yet, but we will start promoting it at least a few days out once we do know what day it'll be.
Yeah.
But looking mid-January, probably get past the holidays, get past the new year, give us some time to
recoup.
Yeah, and come up with some notes, because I think we decided we were going to focus on what the RAs are, how we got tied in, what they are, things like that.
Starting a new year, man, I have some exciting ideas, and also too tying in the RAs with brotherhood. I think there's some creative ways we can do that. So I'm excited what 2025 has to what's going to bring. But thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Let's remember Jesus is the reason for the season.
Yeah.
Merry
absolutely.
Christmas. And I was talking to a couple of people in our Sunday school class and throw out some ideas how we should end the show.
Yeah.
And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we sang a carol live on air?
We will lose all of our listeners if I sing.
I told Lucky that I was going to do that to you, and he said, "Oh, that'd be hilarious. Get this to see. Let's just see his reaction." We're not going to sing because I don't want to lose.
You know what?
viewers.
Well, we are.
No, I was completely kidding.
Well, it's fine. I'm not.
Oh God.
All right. So, but before we do that, we want to do a carol.
Okay.
Since we missed it, Lucky, I'm going to track you down. And I'm going to make you sing it with me to record it so that we have you on the internet singing it as well. But let's close out with Happy Birthday, Jesus.
Okay.
But before we do that, just a couple of housekeeping notes. If you like the show, make sure you're following, subscribe, got notifications turned on, all that good stuff. Leave us a good rating. Leave us a review. That's how these algorithms work, to my understanding. I don't know. I set the stuff up and hit record and post. Yeah. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
I know these phones are listening to us, because I was talking to somebody at work about something the other day, and it popped up on his phone.
Oh yeah, no, that's a real thing.
But anyway,
but engage with us, please.
Yeah.
If you want us to talk about something, if you like something, didn't like something, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Tell somebody else about the show. Share it with them. And one last thing. Yeah. So, we don't have a website. I have a website. But I think Blair, I'll pop a good picture up on Instagram. I'll let you put one on X also.
I'm gonna take it to Sunday school.
Go to
get ready class.
Yeah, so you can go ahead. I'm going to try and have this stuff up available for pre-order when this show drops. But we're going to have some merchandise out. I know we're only 2 episodes in, but we're not looking to make profits off of this. Any money that comes in above and beyond what it costs to make this stuff is going to go back into the show somehow or other, whether that's to help with the cost of
a heater
out here. Yes. No, I've got a heater. I just didn't pull it out.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm seeing how much of a man you are.
Exactly.
But no, just it's not real expensive, but we do want to make this a missional thing. And even if it's just a matter of being able to come up with some sort of devotional books or tracts that we can give out or travel around to the different
I have a dream
meetings
one day of having a show at an annual meeting.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
Yeah. But like I said, we're not looking to get rich off of this. We're not. But as of now, we're going to have the coffee cups, as you see here, and some T-shirts with
Does your Sunday school class like coffee?
Dude, we're the reason that there's a bun coffee pot up there.
It's hard. I'm the guy who makes coffee in our class, and sometimes I get it just right, and sometimes I just make way too much. So I'm still learning how to do that.
Oh, I got you.
Gauge it right.
Well, you can pre-order you a coffee cup, and you're going to have some T-shirt designs as well. Those are probably going to be the only two things to start with. I might have to do a hoodie with it being 40 degrees if we're going to keep doing this out here in the shop.
Fire out here.
So, but anyway, again, thanks for
sticking around with us.
Sticking around and listening, and I'm gonna make you do this. Are you ready? A 1 and a 2. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jesus. Happy birthday to you.
That joke completely backfired on me.
It did.
It did.
All right, guys. Thanks again. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.